Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the Empire of the Full Moon. I am Mike Cadaver, and today we're going to be talking about The Pit and the Pendulum from 1991. Now, this is the first movie that I've done on this show so far that has been from the golden age, what a lot of people call golden age of full moon features, and that was the age right when it started up. Empire had just gone under, and Charles Band wasn't going to sit around, and he obviously still wanted to make movies. I mean, he's still doing it to this day, so that's the no-duh moment of all time. But in essence, what happened is he got together and he made a partnership with Paramount so they could distribute his films direct to video. And some of the movies that we have from this period were, let's see, a lot of the Puppet Master films, Subspecies films, Dr. Mordred, Demonic Toys. We got a couple of Trancers movies and a bunch of others. But yeah, basically, so this is right at the, I hesitate to say peak, but probably the peak for the company in and of itself, because I think there's been a lot of good stuff recently, and I think there is a lot of good stuff back then and mattered throughout all the way through, but I think this was probably the most consistent era of full moon features. Anyway, so, The Pit and the Pendulum. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that a couple of things about this movie. It starred Lance Henriksen, and you will recognize so many people in this. And I talk a lot about there's something in every full moon feature that gives it that, wow, this shouldn't be happening in such a small budget movie. And I think that this one all has to do with being filmed in El Castello di Giove, which probably just means castle in the city Giove. But that was the castle that Charles Band owned. And, I bring this up quite a bit. This book here, Confessions of a Puppet Master, in essence, if you read that, you will find out the wild way that they happened to not only find this castle, find out that it was available to buy, but also how they were able to pull it off. And it's a crazy story, so I suggest that you read that movie. Anyways, the thing is with that, it not only did it cut down the production costs for everything, but it also was amazing in that it housed all these actors as they were filming, especially this movie here. And it's there's, to be honest with you, there's a lot of stories about that, about the castle and living there and all that stuff. But it was great on the Video Zone. Lance Henriksen even called it a filmmaking commune because they filmed there, they lived there, so basically they were there for the whole time. But I think without further ado, why don't we go ahead and play a trailer for The Pit and the Pendulum from 1991.
The Spanish Inquisition, a time when religion was fear.
There is one faith, and all else is sin.
Innocence meant death. And love was lust.
I'll need to leave my thoughts.
The master of this madness was Chief Inquisitor Torquemada.
Some souls have turned so far from God that pain is the only way to call them back.
She was an angel of light.
Stop! Have mercy! Stop!
Who would tear his world of torture apart.
In Christ's name, I beg you. Have mercy.
Arrest her. Maria is like an angel. Satan was an angel.
Take me into the castle.
And direct me to the dungeon where they keep the Luminocusipin witches.
You love me. Lie down or he dies.
Help me!
Stay back!
Now, from mankind's darkest age, comes evil's ultimate weapon.
Look up. Razor sharp.
The Pit and the Pendulum. Stuart Gordon, the director of Reanimator, and Edgar Allan Poe, author of The Raven, create a new vision of classic terror. The Pit and the Pendulum. Starring Lance Henriksen from Aliens and Near Dark, Jeffrey Combs of Reanimator, and the Devil's Oliver Reed. The Pit and the Pendulum. It's a slice of history.
All right, The Pit and the Pendulum from 1991. Currently, there's a 6.0 based on 5.7 thousand reviews and scores on IMDb. It was directed by Stuart Gordon. Of course, we know Stuart's work. If you're a horror fan at all, you know Mr. Gordon's work, but he also did a lot of stuff for Empire Pictures, like Reanimator from 1985, which was a Lovecraft, From Beyond 1986, which is a Lovecraft, Dolls from 1987, Robot Jox from 1990, and even though he directed one full moon feature too, what was it called? The Castle Freak from 1995. And that was a Lovecraft. So obviously he loves his Lovecraft, and he's done a ton of other Lovecraft adaptations as well. I mean, he did Dagon from 2001, and obviously Lovecraft is somebody who inspires him, so he's gone and made that a big part of his life. Well, now he's passed on, but anyway, he passed away in 2020. So he did like a bunch of Lovecraft, like I said, but here with Pit and the Pendulum, he kind of takes on the mantle with Edgar Allan Poe. Now, obviously, Edgar Allan Poe has a short story called The Pit and the Pendulum, but there's more to this movie than just that movie. He also incorporates some ideas from the Cask of Amontillado. It was written in 1846, and by the way, The Pit and the Pendulum was written by Poe in 1842. I bet you're really glad that you know that. But anyway, and also this one has a if you've seen it before, this also has an allusion to the Sword of Damocles, where it's, long story short, King Dionysus was there saying, "Hey, I'm the king. Look how awesome it is to be the king." And so Damocles was like, "Bro, let me have a chance at that." So he goes, "Okay, sit at the crown." He sits at the throne, and he looks up and he notices that there is a sword hanging from the ceiling by one thread, and he's like, "Yo, this is a lot of pressure." He goes, "Well, that's kind of what it's like to be the king. If you're on top, there's always people that are going to want to take you down." Outside of Poe's original material, obviously that gets a credit for it, but it was written by Dennis Paoli. And Paoli, if you guys know, is a huge person that has a huge writer, director, everything like that. He has 18 writing credits. He's worked with Stuart Gordon so many times. You've seen some, I'll just list it off. Reanimator in 1985, From Beyond 1986, Ghoulies 2, Spellcaster, Pulse Pounders, where he did The Evil Clergyman. He did that short as part of Pulse Pounders. But all this stuff, Castle Freak, Meridian, and all this stuff was for Charles Band one way or another, whether it was Full Moon or Empire. He also wrote a bunch of stuff outside, Body Snatchers from 1993, Dentist from 1995, who I love, Corbin Burnson, so I love this movie a lot. Dagon, Suitable Flesh from 2023 even. So I think that Dennis Paoli loves Lovecraft just about as much as Stuart Gordon. So let's get into who starred in this. We have Lance Henriksen as Torquemada. We have Rona DeRicci as Maria, Jonathan Fuller as Antonio, Frances Bay as Esmeralda, who is Happy Gilmore's grandma, Jeffrey Combs as Francisco, Tom Towles as Don Carlos, Carolyn Purdy Gordon as Countess D'Alba Molina, and that is Stuart Gordon's wife, and you'll notice she's in a ton of his work. And we also have Oliver Reed as the Cardinal. Okay, let's get into the plot. It's Spain, 1492, and we're in the midst of an inquisition, and the Grand Inquisitor Torquemada is either on a bloody reign of terror or a righteous cleansing of the wicked, depending on your perspective. See, Torquemada and his followers are on a divine mission to rid the world of the scourge of witches. Torquemada is an intense man, one that has little time for humor or superfluous indulgences. The movie opens up as he's imposing the will of God by punishing an idolater by burning at the stake. It's a big event for the town as everyone has come to the town square to watch and enter Antonio and Maria, a young married couple. They're hurriedly making bread to be sold at this event, and Maria feels bad about making money at an event that exploits the suffering of others, but Antonio's like, "Bro, we need to be able to afford our crap, so why don't we just do this?" They get there, they do their best, but attempt to head home before the big event. but one of the guards prompts him to stay, saying, why wouldn't you want to stay and watch the will of God? So, and they're like, oh shit. Well, turns out that these Inquisitor guys aren't very, like, they don't have like pretty open minds. So I feel like at this point it was either stay and watch or be charged as a witch. Well, it doesn't really matter because one thing leads to another, and Maria causes a bit of a ruckus along with Antonio, and even worse, it gains the attention of Torquemada, who is watching high above from the castle. Well, Torquemada sees Maria and immediately is tempted by her great beauty, so much so that Torquemada can only assume that he has been bewitched. He has his flunkies take her to the castle where she will await to be interrogated and tried as a witch. Well, this is where we spend most of the movie. The story from here on out follows Torquemada and his acolytes as they examine, and I do mean examine, Maria in an effort to find out whether she's not a witch, all the while watching Torquemada struggle to overcome the temptation of Maria's feminine wiles through flagellation, pleading, and other types of self-suffering. Will Maria be found innocent of witchcraft? Will Torquemada be able to keep his hands off both Maria and himself as his lustful thoughts start to intrude? What would it look like if you got so horny that you tried to whip the devil out of yourself? Well, find out by watching The Pit and the Pendulum from 1991. All right, so there you have it. That is the movie, and I think the first thing that strikes me, as I mentioned this a little bit before, the look and the feel of this movie is crazy amazing. Everything looks so genuine, or at least genuine enough to fool this non-history major into believing it is, because everything just looks of the time, from the bakery, the Antonio and Maria's bakery, all the way to the dungeon and throughout the castle and the city and everything like that. It was crazy. It would have been impossible, like I said, without Castle dei Giovi, which Charles Band got. And I feel like that was such a huge gift for him in a lot of these movies. And also, I mean, later on, we'll talk about another movie where they did all their filming in Castile Studios, which was in Romania. Anyway, there's one room that wasn't as good, but I'll mention that in a minute. Actually, I'll mention that right now. There's, of course, we know the Pit and the Pendulum, where there is Antonio. He's tied down to the floor, and that pendulum is coming, and he's going to cut him in half. That room, I mean, the pendulum, great, but the room kind of looked like it. You ever go to like a haunt, like around Halloween time, and they've done pretty cool like painting on the walls and stuff like that with spray paints and other stuff like that. It kind of looked like that, so that was a little bit out of place in my opinion, but I assume it was filmed in a different spot on a soundstage, and but it was fine. It just didn't match, as my wife would say, it didn't match the aesthetic of the rest of the movie. Anyways, the costuming is great. Everything looks wonderful except for Jeffrey Combs kind of looks like Lord Farquaad a little bit, and on top of that, like I said, just perfect thing. I think I know that Richard Band did the score, and it was also like, he just is so good at it that he gives these films like it's like Charles Band, like he had all this stuff kind of fall into his lap. This, I mean, if you read the story about how he got the castle, that kind of fell into his lap. And also he has a little brother who he probably bullied as a kid, and he bullied all the way to an adulthood, so that this guy would score his films, because he does such a great job, and it's right there at Charles Band's disposal at all times. Anyways, this one kind of has a much more like melancholy tone. It's a lot more serious, especially when it comes to Torquemada. There is some comic relief when it comes to like the Three Stooges, and I'll show you pictures of the Three Stooges right now. So yeah, for these guys are pretty funny, and they're kind of out for themselves, but Torquemada is crazy, even, okay, so before I get into that, but even what's her name, Frances Bay, I always saw is Happy Gilmore's grandma, so it was a little bit hard, but even she plays it pretty on the level, right? But Torquemada, Lance Henriksen, is so intense in this, and it's like I could just feel the pain like that he is going through. I mean, it's just like this guy finds the most beautiful woman, and he's supposed to have this divine calling, and all of a sudden this girl's so dang hot. And I get that. I mean, of course, I was like 12 years old when I went through that kind of horniness that I couldn't deal with, but I mean, it's okay for an old man, I guess. I mean, gosh, was that too much? But he's a tour de force. He this is another thing that makes it special. He was so intense while he was filming. He kind of stood away and kept to himself. And, even though they all lived together, he especially from Maria, so that they could kind of have that relationship of intimidation and that kind of stuff. It's crazy. He just ate bread and water as he was filming this, so he could kind of like, I don't know, when you're hungry and you're a little bit more apt to. I think it's hungry and you're not indulging in things. You're a little more apt to be a little bit more humble and maybe intense, or especially like pissed off, which is what I get when I get hungry. So I feel like he was just so in this to play this role and do his very best at it. And he just come off movies like, obviously he did Aliens, and obviously he did Near Dark. And so he comes to this, I think, with the same serious tone. I mean, he didn't, even though this is a full moon feature, and I'm sure it had a lot smaller of a budget than Alien, but even Near Dark, he still came at it as if it were, this big production, and he did his very best to do that. So I have this, I have this DVD, and I got this, can you see it? I got this on the archive, the 18 DVD set, the archive collection here. And I got that a long time ago. It came with 18, which is kind of a smattering of a bunch of them. I feel like I've purchased most of these again throughout other full moon like packs. Like I have the subspecies one. I feel like I've bought the Puppet Masters a couple times over. Like Friday the 13th, I purchased like 5 times. I think Puppet Master I bought at least 3. But anyway, so this was part of it. And actually, if you pull out the DVD, it said this was part of a Stuart Gordon trilogy. But so I looked that up, and that never came to pass. With that said, I guess it was just kind of a, they for one reason or another, they didn't end up putting that out, which is fine. It was cool. I got it as part of this. But the DVD's cool. It's got the Video Zone on it, and I've been showing you some stuff. My favorite part of the Video Zone is I always wondered how they got Lance Henriksen's hair to look like that. Well, here I'm going to show you a little bit, and this is them actually putting it on. So enjoy that for a second. But also it was fun to watch the bloopers, stuff like that, and had interviews with Maria and a couple other people. I don't know. It was an all-around great movie. This is not the most fun movie of the Full Moon Features oeuvre, okay? Because this is not meant to be super fun. It's not meant to be like a subspecies or not subspecies. I mean, Puppet Master and some of the other like Trancers and some of those, which are super fun. This one is played right down serious, and it's meant to do, but it's a great movie. I would say check it out. And you know what's so funny is I always want to make these short. I wanted these to be 5 minutes long, these little videos, but they always seem to take forever because I have a big mouth, and to be honest with you, there's just a lot to talk about when it comes to 80s movies. Anyway, so I will finish off, but I will say, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go visit corpsecollective.com and check out some of the other stuff. I've got some horror trivia game that you can play. I've got some, other fun stuff, and some other people have contributed over the years. But anyway, go check this one out. I'm sure you've already seen it, but I guess that's all I have to say, so I'll catch you guys later.